Today we're looking at notes 5-8, solve quadratics using quadratic formula. So we have looked at lots of ways to solve quadratics. We've looked at using square root, using completing the square, we've looked at factoring, graphing, tables, all those things. But sometimes you are going to get a quadratic that's such an ugly equation that you can't factor. You can't use completing the square, or you could, but it would be very, very ugly and not, easy. It would be fractions, etc. You can't graph it. There's no whole number answer. So your last resort, something that will work to solve any quadratic, is quadratic formula. And no doubt you've used this before, so we're going to amp it up a bit. So solving x squared plus 4 equals 5x using quadratic formula. The very, very first thing that you want to do is get any quadratic that you have in standard form. So that means this has got to be x squared. If I move this 5x over, and remember that would go in the middle, since it's positive on this side, when I move it over it's going to become negative 5x plus 4 now equals 0. That's what we want, equals 0. Okay, now I know A is 1, right? B is negative 5, and C is 4. So I can go ahead and plug into my quadratic equation. So my quadratic formula here is opposite of B, negative B. So if B is already negative, minus a negative is going to make a positive, so it's going to be 5. I should write x equals. So x equals positive 5, because it's always opposite of B, plus or minus square root b squared, so negative 5 squared, minus 4, a is 1, c is 4, all over 2a, 2 times 1. Okay, so your first step to simplify is going to be 5 plus or minus. Okay, what I always want you to do first is square that, so that's going to be 25, minus, so I'm going to write the minus, which means I'm forgetting about it because I'm rewriting it. Now, I'll always want you to multiply 4 times 1 times 4. 4 times 1 is 4, and 4 times 4 is 16, so it would look like that. Okay, and then 2 times 1 is 2. So now you have 5 plus or minus 25 minus 16 is 9, so square root of 9 over 2, okay? So we know the square root of 9. The square root of 9 is 3, so you're going to rewrite 5 plus or minus 3 over 2. So your very, very last step is to actually solve that. So x equals 5 plus 3 over 2, or x equals 5 minus 3 over 2. So on this, 5 plus 3 is 8 over 2, and here 8 over 2 equals 4, so x equals 4, or x equals 5 minus 3, that's 2 over 2, so that's 1. So x equals 4 or x equals 1. Okay, let's do another. So number 2, x squared minus 6x equals negative 9. Again, it's not in standard form. Move over the negative 9. In this case, the number goes in the back. So it's going to look like x squared minus 6x plus 9 equals 0, where a is 1, b is negative 6, and c is 9. So quadratic formula says opposite of b, so positive 6 plus or minus b squared minus 4ac all over, the whole thing over, 2 times a. So here we go, 6 plus or minus, negative 6 squared is 36, minus, okay, 4 times 1 is 4, 4 times 9 is 36, all over 2 times 1, which is 2. So here, this one's easy, right? Yay. 6 plus or minus square root of 0, 36 minus 36 is 0, all over 2. So that is 6 plus or minus 0 over 2. So when I split it up, y'all, what I really want you to see is 6 plus 0 over 2, or x equals 6 minus 0 over 2. Oops, I didn't write my x equals on that one. But hopefully you already knew, I didn't have to show you and write it out, that this is 6 over 2, which is 3. And this is also 6 over 2, which is 3. Okay, those are my two answers, or really a single answer that is a double. Okay, another one here. I think I have another one for you. Yes, I do have one more. Number 3. Okay, 4x plus 3x squared equals 2. When I go to put this in standard form, I say, okay, the 3x squared's got to go first, the 4x has to go second, and that 2's got to move over the equal sign, so it's going to become minus 2, where a is 3, b is 4, and c is negative 2. So I have x equals opposite of b, so that'd be negative 4 plus or minus square root b squared, 4 squared, minus 4 a c. Okay, all over 2 times a, 2 times 3. So I have negative 4 plus or minus 4 squared is 16. Then I'm going to write minus 4 times 3 is 12. 12 times negative 2 is negative 24. Okay, so that minus a negative turns positive, all over 2 times 3, which is 6. So this is negative 4 plus or minus square root 40, so far so good, over 6. Okay, so here's where we're at. On this one, that is not a perfect square. Okay, but looking at that number, hopefully you say, well, that can be broken up though, right? So you're going to come off to the side and you're going to look at square root of 40. Okay, 40 breaks up 4 and 10. 4 is 2 and 2. 10 is 5 and 2. So I circle my set of 2's, okay, and that's what's going to come out. So I have, just carrying it to the next page, negative 4 plus or minus 2 comes out. Square root of 5 times 2 is 10, all over 6. And I would be done. I would be done, except what I notice is all 3 of these numbers are divisible by 2. So you can't just divide one without dividing the other. You have to share the love, remember? So all 3 of these numbers are divisible by 2, so that's what I'm going to do. Negative 4 divided by 2 would be negative 2, plus or minus 2 divided by 2 would be 1, so really there's no need to write that. And 6 divided by 2 would be 3. So that is my final step in reducing this answer. And on this type, because that can't go any further, I really don't need you to write this any other way. I don't need you to break it up or anything like that. This right here, for a final answer, would totally suffice if it's still in a square root. Okay, just go as far as you can with the square root. So let us just, we're done with doing quadratics. Let us just practice, because I'm sure the reducing part is the hardest. So I just want you to practice one more reducing or simplify. Okay, if I give you something like 3 plus or minus 6 square root of 2 over 9, how I would want you to write that final answer is, look at these 3 numbers right here. They are all divisible by 3. So you would write 1 plus or minus 2 square root of 2 over 3. I divided all 3 of those numbers by 3. Okay. Another example of this would be 10 plus or minus 25 square root of 3 over 5. What I want you to notice here is all 3 of these numbers are divisible by 5. So your final answer for this would be 2 plus or minus 5 radical 3, and then over 1, because 5 divided by 5 is 1, but that's not really necessary, okay? It's much nicer to write it like this instead of over 1. The last thing I want you to look at, 6 plus or minus square root of 7 all over 3. It is very, very, very tempting to divide that by 3. But just like all these previous problems, the only way you can divide is if all 3 of these numbers are divisible. This number here in front is an implied 1. 1 is not divisible by 3, at least it's not a whole number, it's a fraction. We cannot do this. This does not equal 2 plus or minus square root of 7. That's not the same thing, because that 3, if you're going to divide it by the 6, it's also got to go here. You've got to share the love, and that's not right. So please don't think that you can divide without including that number.